Have you ever spilled drinks on a piece of paper before, and do you notice how it just stains the paper with that color? If you have, then you would understand that it's a hint that I'm giving you for what I'm gonna specifically do this time, because paper comes from trees, and so yeah, I think you'll get it. This is yet another restoration video. Last time I showed you the two-part sofa restoration consisting of sanding and preparation in the first part and finishing in the second. Now, it's an old rubberwood table. However, I'm not gonna drag too long this time. I'm just gonna comb through the boring processes and just show you what I did and be on towards the interesting way I found to stain and finish this table. So stick around and find out how I fucked up towards the end but managed to save this project. Maybe you'll learn something from my mistake and be inspired to do something with your furnitures at home too. My name is Julian and this is Lignum Neophyte. First of all, I removed the old finish and anything else that looked dirty with a lot of sanding to get to the bare wood. I sanded everything with 80 grit sandpaper first and up to 120 grit. I used my DIY wood file which I made with some sandpaper, 5-minute epoxy and a 2B pencil to sand the tight spots on the legs where my sander can't reach, because I want to keep the legs nice and round, you know. Next, I pre-raised the fibers by popping with water and left it to air dry for 12 to 24 hours before sanding it back down with the 120 grit sandpaper again. This time, it's really important that I do this because I won't be able to sand those fibers down later on when applying the secret stain, because it's basically a dye. It doesn't really absorb much into the wood like those conventional wood stains that you would use. So I must deal with those raw fibers now. Then I continued sanding to 180 grit for the legs, stretchers and the shelf, except for the tabletop. I believe everyone must go the extra mile to continue sanding their tables to 400 grit by going up from 180 to 240, 320 and 400, because it is the star of the show and it can fill the hole in your heart. It will literally save your soul. Some of you may have correctly guessed what I'm going to use to dye or stain this table from the thumbnail of this video. Obviously, I used coffee because of the color. Now, maybe half or most of you who drink coffee have spilled it on important documents like your assignments or worksheets, and you get so pissed, but not on this table. Like, especially if it's really your own table that you're going to refinish or refurbish at home. I myself find it to be a very nice natural color and very theme oriented, since it's a coffee table after all. I applied the coffee to all the table parts with a piece of rag, wiped off the excess, and I did this up to 6 coats with 20 to 30 minutes of air drying between each coat, and this is how it looks. So now, this is not what I was going for, but I stopped at 6 coats because I know that when I apply the finish later, it will darken a little more because clear polyurethane is not totally clear. It has a honey-like color to it. You see it after this. Again, I let it dry out for a day and came back the next day to start the finishing process. Okay, now, this is what I meant earlier about the water pop. Usually, when you stain wood, fibers will be raised, and in my case, it did not because I sanded them off earlier. Now, it's just a very thin film of coffee pigments on the surface and there are no fibers that I need to sand off anymore. I'm still using the Jotun wood shield from the sofa restoration, which is rated for decks, and this is where I fucked up. After applying 2 coats of 50-50% concentration polyurethane varnish with 2 days between coats, and instead of applying it normally with a piece of cloth like I did for the first 2, I decided to try something different and act smart and impatient and poured the 3rd coat onto the not fully cured surface, and everything just flaked up when I tried to spread it. Now you see that guy on the screen? He's just coming up with excuses, but for me doing this voiceover, I'm here to tell you his mistake, which is not realizing that the 50% alcohol content in the mix was still pretty strong and it should be applied thinly across the surface properly, not generously poured like he did. And so he learned his lesson and had to sand the top to a workable surface again, which was almost all of it, and did everything until he reached 400 grits to apply the coffee stain again. Unmixed, I didn't thin it down with any paint thinner or mineral spirits, and I applied it with this foam brush that I made myself with a dish sponge and 2 pedal pop sticks. And the total waiting time for it to be cured to the point where I'll be able to work with it for me here is 9 days, when usually it will take up around 2 weeks or so, maybe in some other regions with different humidities of your wherever you are living. But the easiest way to tell is sometimes you just put your nose to it and then you just take a whiff, like you just, like if it doesn't give up that tangy fume of polyurethane, I mean if it's close to nothing at all, then you should probably be ready to be surfaced. So what I'm going to do right now is just start some surfacing with some fine 320 grit sandpaper, and I'll move up my way to 400 grits, 800, 1000 and 1500, and then I'll start polishing with some car compound, and at the end I'll apply some wax to it. So keep watching. When I started this channel, I was at a turning point in my life where I had to stop working and stay home due to a personal reason that I maybe will share with you one day. And I realized 2 things. One, I wasn't a very good learner in school back then. So I immediately started working in a small-time restaurant after secondary school, and worked my way up from waiting tables to being a cook in the kitchen. And then worked in another restaurant and noticed the second thing, that I learned stuff better when I can get my hands on something and do it every single day. So there I was at home, contemplating what to do next, and what can I do and learn and probably earn from to support myself in the future, at the same time providing value to others with what I've learned. So after some discussion with my father, specifically my family, we noticed our furnitures were almost 20 years old. So right there and then, I decided to learn about woodworking and turned to my all-time favorite teacher, the internet, to learn and share my knowledge and experience with the world. I believe in getting back what you put in as well. And one fine day, I believe that I'll make something out for myself, even with any hardship at hand. That brings us back to the video. If you like what you see and you think you learned something useful and I did a good job, nothing would mean more to me than your subscription, because I'll continue to prick my brain for unique DIY ideas in making future videos, because the next video is going to be the most challenging thing by far. So thank you very much for watching till the end, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.